What's up, everybody? A Sparrow with a Gun here from Sleepless Nights with another episode on Space Engineers. When we left off in the last episode, we were continuing to work on the bullet and getting it finished, which the Nanite system's taking forever, but it also gave me time to work on my Nanite assembler controller system, and I managed to get that working again, which is pretty cool, in my opinion, my humble opinion. We are dealing with a little bit of a power issue, but mainly because I'm being stubborn. I have the batteries mostly charged up. Mostly. I think they're up to 3 pips or something like that. Let me turn my lights on. If my memory serves me over here. One of them's at 4, actually. What about these? These are all at 3. So we have quite a bit of power stored up. As long as I keep the drill platform off, it's really not doing too bad. That it's running okay on just the little power the solar power has. But if I turn the drill platform on at the moment, it crashes everything. So, well, not crashes, it just turns everything off. Everything runs out of power, essentially. Okay, fine, make a liar out of me, see if I care. Stupid drill Anyways, it was doing that. The sun's coming up probably now. But I'm trying to save the batteries because when the bullet's actually done, considering that it uses void thrusters and no hydrogen and all that stuff, I'm basically going to need to dump that power into the batteries on board the ship. So I want to kind of keep those as charged as I can. So there is that. As you can see, we're still not really done with this. It's still taking forever. So there's a couple things that I wanted to go over. It was recommended to me to make an elite welder and then basically help the ship go along. Which, in cases like this, I actually can, because the component's already there. So it does actually help a little bit. But for the most part, I haven't really found much of a use for this. Normally it's like, if it doesn't have the items already placed, then the Nanite machine hasn't really worked on it yet. Like, at all. This case is a little bit of an exception, I suppose, right up here in the front. Let's see if I can just go ahead and get this out of the way. Come on. So, yeah, this is kind of the exception, not really the rule normally. Most of the time I've had to where it really didn't have the components needed, and so it just wouldn't let me do anything. But this does kind of help a little bit. Another thing that was recommended, and it's something that I quite honestly am kicking myself having never really thought of before. And I'm meaning that honestly. I was kind of looking at the comments going like, oh, you know, that's actually a really smart idea. Why didn't I think of that? You can keep your opinions to yourself as to what. I get it. It's not my smartest moment. But one of the things was to build more than one Nanite system. As well as refineries and assemblers and all that kind of stuff, which is really not a bad idea. It's actually a pretty good one. Again, it was kind of one of those like, why didn't you think of that, you dummy? You know. To which I responded, yeah, I'm you, but I can't. But yeah, anyways, after I composed myself, I decided that's actually a pretty good idea. So I think that's what we're going to work on at the moment, because the welder thing works for mainly steel blocks, is what it usually works for, because there's only one component to it. So it's like it places it, and I guess it's just building other things. It doesn't get around to finishing the welding. I don't really know why it doesn't just go ahead and weld them, but whatever. But when it comes to the internal components and things, it's a lot trickier to get into the actual ship and not, you know, hurt yourself and not get stuck and all that kind of stuff, which is actually why I like the Nanite machine in the first place. Is I'm not too familiar with welders, but I believe they have a range limit, and so if you build too big of a ship, I don't really know how you actually build all the internal components and everything, unless you do it like legit shipyard style where you build in layers. But so I think for this episode, I do apologize if it's not super crazy eventful, but I think what I'm going to do is cut out this conveyor and make a, probably like a conveyor block is probably the best option, and then put 2 more Nanite controllers here, or Nanite systems. But while I'm doing that, I actually figured I would take the time to discuss a couple of things. First of all, because otherwise I'm just going to be standing around talking and not doing anything, and I could be moving this along a little bit. So the first thing, well, let's see. What do I actually need from this? Interior plates, motors, small steel tubes, construction components. So I need to make sure I have at least that in order to make, seriously, I really don't understand the jump mechanic in this game sometimes. It's kind of like, I can jump really high, but for some reason I can't jump over a flat surface. Let's see if I can find the conveyors. I know they're in here somewhere. I probably got, there they are. So what's a cube? Conveyor cube junction. Alright, 20, 30, 6, and 20. I won't remember any of that, but it's okay. Let's see. Nope. There we go. Not what I'm looking for, I don't think. No. Alright, so one of the things that I do apologize to if I end up doing something really stupid, like doing wrong math or something like that, because usually when I'm thinking and talking at the same time, it doesn't typically end well. So, at least not for the productivity of whatever it is I was trying to work on. But I think that will probably cover what we need overall. Yeah, let's just try that. So, one of the things that I've been thinking about is what can we do with the series moving forward? Because, so, at the risk of basically kind of, how do I put this? Normally, alright, let's just talk. Let's just talk for a minute, shall we? So normally, one of the things that I've run into a lot is, most YouTubers that I watch and stuff, they tend to treat the, what the heck, there we go, tend to treat the shows they do like a show, which I understand fully. I normally try and do the same thing. I try and keep as much of the behind the scenes or the boring stuff or the things that nobody really cares about, all that kind of stuff. I try and keep that as compartmentalized as I can to where you guys aren't really bogged down by a bunch of behind-the-scenes crap that nobody cares about. They're like, you know, on with the show. But in this case, I do feel like it's a little bit relevant. Do I need more? Oh, wow. These need a lot of construction components. Okay. So one thing I've been running around with is I personally have been getting semi-bored with Space Engineers. And I've been kind of wrestling with, is that the game or how I'm tackling the game or what I'm trying to do with it, etc. and so on. And kind of see what I come up with. I was just wondering if we were out of construction components. It looks like we are. Okay. So, actually I'm going to need more than that. Let's just add a bunch. I think I've got plenty of iron to spare at the moment. So, back to the topic at hand, if you will. So, essentially what I've been kind of running around with is how do I... Oh, it built itself. Yay. Good job. I don't know why I didn't expect that to happen. And there it goes again. Alright, cool. So that might actually help out a little bit. Now, this isn't tied to the script at the moment, so that could be a problem in the long run. I'm not really sure right now. But that should keep everything connected, I think. What are we doing here, guys? Computers, large steel tubes, construction components. I'm trying to figure out, again, I apologize, I'm kind of thinking and talking at the same time. So I think it's having trouble keeping up with the assembler, is what's holding up Though where are the steel tubes? I'm pretty sure I have all that. No? Do we not? Large steel tubes? Nope, don't see any anywhere, actually. And this yeah, there it goes. I was gonna say this probably hasn't cleared because of that. Alright, there we go. That's better. That's better. Alright. Block is not ready. Why? Oh, because it's off. That's why. Alright. Well, fair enough. What did I name this? Nanite Nanobot System. Okay, I'm going to leave that that way because that is the one that the script is controlling. And let's go for build, and we'll leave that as 2, and we'll just say Nanobot System. Let's grab that. Boom. Alright. I'm going to cut this part out because I'm basically just going to copy and paste all the stuff from the settings from the first one. Alrighty, so I went ahead and set these up. I think I'm just going to leave this... Well, I probably could grab them both, but whatever. We're just going to turn these both on now. And it comes up as ready and ready. See, this is the only part I'm not sure about. Is because the missing items aren't in here, they're in here. I don't know how that's going to affect the script. I probably could fix that in the long run by just adding a loop to go through a series of blocks that have the same name conventions and then loop through them and kind of tallied up that way. But we'll see if it becomes more of a problem or if it helps more. But having a couple more should help, as long as it has all the parts and things, in theory. Actually, here's an interesting test. Let's go see how the script is interpreting this, which it should say there's nothing missing, even though the one says there is, in theory. Yeah, okay, so I don't see any missing items, even though if we go to Nanobot 2... Oh, okay. Now this is saying missing items from the main. Now why isn't this showing? Uh-oh. Wow. That's not good. Oh, wait. Where'd it go? Now there's no missing blocks. I'm so confused. Make up your mind. Maybe it doesn't know what it's talking about. Alright, whatever. So yeah, that takes care of that. That should help, theoretically, speed this process up. But, one thing that I was getting at, basically, again, I do apologize for, not being very straight to the point because I was trying to build and do. It's really not that great of an idea, to be honest. But I want to do something with the series and improve it overall. I do think... So this is what I was getting at with the whole YouTube thing. I started using the drill platform and the Nanite controller. Now, grant you, the Nanite thing is cool anyway, just because it lets you build from wherever. You don't have to be, like, bring it to the welding hanger. But some of you may realize that that also eliminates the need for some kind of shipyard welding hanger, that sort of thing. And so I am growing to agree with the theory that by adding the drilling platform and the Nanite controller and thing like that, that it speeds things up for me to make videos, but it also takes away from the focal points of the game itself, which is to mine, to gather, to refine, to process, to streamline, to automate, etc. and so on. So, this leads me to my point of what do we do with the series from here. And I mentioned this in the last episode a little bit. I'm actually going to get away from that because of that noise. I mentioned it a little bit in the last episode about, you know, do we do a creative Let's Play? Do we just shift over to Let's Builds, etc. and so on? So, if all goes well, I'm going to put a card in this video. I may try and put a link in the description if I use the community poll or something. I'm not sure how it'll work exactly, if the polls and the cards are separate or whatnot, but either in the description if there is no card, but right about now, you should see a little notification up in the top right corner of a poll in the card slot. So do me a favor and click on that and submit your ideas. Now I'm kind of playing around with 3 ideas how to improve the series so far. One is to basically keep going, but kind of do it with a more narrative focus and maybe turn this into like a creative Let's Play. And I say that because I don't see it very often. Normally you see Let's Builds, but they're not really a playing, it's just kind of building a ship. This idea I had would be more of building a ship or base or whatever with the idea of playing it as if you were in survival. And so they all have a function and a reason, but instead of having to wait 3 episodes on a nanite machine to build a ship, you could just basically place all the blocks together and you're done. So it would kind of be the idea of a survival, but it would actually be done in creative to expedite things. Because the whole reason behind the drill platform and everything was because I didn't want to waste a ton of time. I know, right? I didn't want to waste a ton of time, so I added mods. But I didn't want to waste a lot of time with mining and mundane activities and things like that, and a lot of you already know that I don't have a whole lot of time per each episode of all the series that I do. It's not like one of those where I can take an entire day or 2 or even a week like some YouTubers do and work on their Let's Play episodes. So in order to expedite that, I added the drill platform and all that to speed things up so we could do bigger, more flashier, and cooler builds without having to add an exorbitant amount of time onto the production time. But it's starting to work a little bit in reverse in this point, where it's becoming the reason that I don't really have a whole lot of idea of what I want to do. Because it takes a lot of the game out of it and almost turns it into a hybrid creative anyway. When you can just kind of access... Alright, this is bugging me. Why is this not displaying? Oh, because there's an error. Why is there an error? Oy vey. I can't seem to get this script to work properly without always having a bug of some kind in it. So yeah, that's one of the ideas, is a creative Let's Play. Not admittedly my favorite, but it's an interesting idea that I haven't seen a lot of people try, so I'm willing to experiment with it if you guys are willing to bear with me. One option is to start entirely over and go pure vanilla and basically just do mining and actual stuff like that, with the exception of if I started over. I've started over a lot of times and I always have such a hard time getting started with like the opening parts of the game, the learning curve, not learning curve, but the, how do I put this? I think there's a lot of grind work involved in the very beginning, especially because you don't have a mining ship, you don't have a processing base, you don't have a... So, especially if you're doing things vanilla, it can be very grindy at the beginning. So I don't tend to get very far. For example, I've started 2 seasons before ever getting out into space. Or something like that. Or is this my first survival? Maybe this is my first survival one. I can't remember, but I've definitely started over twice, where I was kind of getting into the swing of things. So there is a mod out there that I found very intriguing, to be honest. It's called Exploration Enhancement, or something to that effect, and it basically turns the game into Empyrean, where you have trading, you have NPCs, you have police, you have pirates, and stuff like that. Not that you don't already have pirates, but it adds a bit more of an ecosystem to the game, where you can mine, then you can go sell it to a trade station and stuff like that, which seemed intriguing. It seems really cool. It's been recommended to me a bunch of times, so that's another option. Another option that I've thought of is to keep things the way that they are with the drill platform, with the nanite machines, and simply add the exploration mod and see where that takes us. I suppose there is a 4th option, which is essentially not doing a survival-focused play at all and reverting back to a more let's build style of doing things. Which I feel like is a little bit like option 1, because if I go back to a Let's Build, I kind of like the idea of building a base and stuff instead of just doing ships and things. But let me know what you guys think. I've also thought about starting over on another planet as well. I did the Earth one because it just made sense to start on Earth, but I know there's a Mars and other types of starting worlds. But there's also the option of including a solar system type thing to where you start here and then you can go to Mars and all that anyway. But so definitely leave your votes in the poll kind of thing, and let me know what you guys think about all of that. I do also intend to shortly here. It takes a lot more time to work on it than my Let's Play ones and stuff does because of the amount of polish involved and testing that I want to implement. But I am thinking of coming back with the Programming 102 series. Like, I started it and then I never really kept going with it, and I'm thinking of kind of rebooting it, if that makes sense. Starting off with another basics video that's a bit more refined, a bit more polished, and a lot less of a let's code together kind of thing, because that's essentially what 101 was. It was basically a let's code instead of a let's play, and I'd like to take 102 in more of a tutorial direction and have you guys basically comment and message and vote for what different functions you guys would like to see done through scripts that maybe you haven't seen. I know there's a lot of stuff like M-Master stuff that does a lot for LCDs and things like that. So if there's something that you guys hadn't seen and always wondered, hey, how could we do this, or this would be cool, or I'd really like this to be a thing, you know, let me know. So I do apologize for, like I said, I didn't want to turn this episode into another just podcast with Space Engineers footage, but quite frankly, my focus has been on this ship and getting it ready so that we can go out in space, and I just can't get the darn thing to finish. Even, now I will admit, 3 nanite machines is moving a much faster pace. But yeah, one thing I should point out to vanilla enthusiasts, if you're thinking of the exploration mod as kind of like a non-vanilla, so I don't like modded, I wouldn't like that. I should point out that 90% of the mod is scripted AI and vanilla exploration type ships. It's not really using mods per se, to my understanding. It makes use of exploration ships that are tagged on the workshop, which those have to be vanilla. And it makes use of a lot of AI scripts and trading scripts and things like that. It's not actually really a mod in the truest sense of the word. It's more of a expansion and a AI rewrite and a scripting type thing of what's already in the game. It just populates all over into the game world kind of thing and actually does something with all of it. Which is one thing that it intrigues me about it, because you could actually play with that mod and be vanilla. Like, you wouldn't have to have the nanites and the drillers and void thrusters and turbines, like a bunch of different mods. You can actually do it without any, and it still kind of feels authentic. It just acts like... That's one of my biggest complaints about Space Engineers thus far. I think the building is pretty good. I think the graphics and stuff have definitely improved over time. And I think the idea of I can build anything and fly it has always been the appeal to the game. I do feel it feels very barren. Even when you turn on asteroids and the wolves and all that kind of stuff and the spiders and things, it just feels very empty and not lived in. So that exploration mod is definitely top of my list in things of I could see doing. So I think for me, personally, the options I'm leaning back and forth between are starting over entirely, going pure vanilla with the exception of the exploration mod, continuing where we are here with the driller platform and everything, and just adding the exploration mod and seeing what that does, or tackling a creative build as if it were survival. I had a couple questions about that in the last episode where people were like, never really thought about it, not sure how it would go. From what I'm planning, like just to kind of clarify a bit, I'm really planning on playing it the way that I've been playing this, with the idea of accomplishing something, and tackling it as if it was a vanilla survival. It would just be, instead of having to wait on all this kind of thing, you could build it. Now, what I mean by that is that I may still build a base with a hangar with welders and call it a shipyard, and that's where you would build your ships, and then basically build the ship and park it there and not actually make use of it, so that twofold. One, people could download the workshop file and stuff like that, and it would be kind of survival ready because you built it with the idea of it being survival. And also designed it with a function in mind that serves survival purposes. It would just expedite all of this. We wouldn't have to wait 3 episodes to wait for something to be done. Now, I may have to design and build, and that may take time, so each chunk of a project may not be done in a single episode, but we wouldn't have just 3 episodes of me talking because I can't get anything done while all this is tied up. Is kind of my point to all that. It does seem to be moving at a pretty good clip, though. So, yeah. Probably about the time that this is done will be when we decide to do something different, to be honest. I think at the end of this episode, though, I may still go ahead and upload these workshop files, if I can figure out how. It's not letting me for some reason, and I don't know if it's because the world's private. I thought they changed it to where you don't have to be public anymore, but maybe you still do, for blueprints. Again, I can't express... I do apologize for this being a podcast episode where I'm just talking. I know a lot of you look forward to the episodes, and when nothing really happens, it can be disappointing. But I'm at a transitional period with the series, and I really want to get you guys' feedback so I don't waste time and jump into some other series going, yeah, this will be cool, and no one wants to see it, type of thing. So, I do apologize for it being a talky episode, but I feel like in the long run it'll better our next endeavor, whether we continue and move forward going, okay, we're sticking with this, yeah, okay, we're good, okay, let's move on. Whether we do that, or whether we end this series here and start a whole new series, or start a Let's Build focus, whatever. So... yeah, I sorry about that. That I know, like I said, I've done it before where you're looking forward to something and then when it comes out, it's not really, it's an underwhelming kind of thing. It's not really all that interesting. But, like I said, I waited as long as I could. I was letting this build, blah, 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 and I was like, yeah, let's get this going. And it just still wasn't done. And so I was like, I've got to do something for this episode. Might as well find out what everybody wants to see moving forward. Is essentially the bottom line. Like I said, I don't like usually boring you guys with all the behind-the-scenes stuff, but right now, I could really use your feedback in your comments. And if you don't use the poll thing, or if there's nothing that came up there, and because I didn't end up figuring out how to put, you can always just leave it in the comments what you think, or message me directly or something like that. But the poll is just a really good way to kind of organize it all. If there is a poll up and it did work and I've got it running, it's just a really simple and easy way to go, oh, okay, that's what everybody's thinking of, because it shows me a direct ratio right off the bat kind of thing. So yeah. And I may leave a link in the description. I might post that poll on the community page of the channel and then post a link to the through the cards. I'm not really sure how the card polls work, or if they're separate or not, so I'll have to play around with that. But yeah, so unfortunately, I don't really have anything else that I need to cover, and this is not done. So I kind of think I'm going to end up wrapping up this episode here as kind of just not really a PSA, but kind of an announcement episode, I suppose. It's kind of like, hey, we're in a transition period, so let me know what you guys think. Is it just me, or do those solar panels look like they are not in the optimal position for where the sun is at? That doesn't look right at all. How did that happen? Did they change something, I wonder, about the, I don't know which one this is. Did they change something about how fast the sun moves? Or something? Oh, I shouldn't have done that. crap. Now I don't know what speed it was. There we go. Please tell me this is the right one. Nope, not the right. -5 is fast, apparently. Yeah, no, not the right one. Okay, I got it. Slow down. Hey, what do you know? That actually wasn't too bad. Anyways, I'm not going to mess with this right now. I'm going to wrap this episode up here. So yeah, be sure to let me know what you guys think about what you would like to see from Space Engineers content moving forward. And I say it that way because if everybody's okay with doing like Let's Builds and saying we're not all that interested in the survival, then that's what I'll do. Because I think I personally have more fun with the Let's Builds because I don't really have any restrictions and I can just build stuff. And I've always liked Space Engineers more for building than using. I have to admit that. Like, I always had more fun building stuff than I did actually trying to do anything with them. But yeah, so... but if everybody's really focused on survival and stuff, then that's fine too. I know I haven't been too happy with the episodes lately. I haven't been too focused on anything particular. It felt very lack of direction of where I wanted to go with each episode. Every time I sat down to record it, I was kind of like, I don't know what I want to do. And I know that comes through in the videos. So with that, I think I need a refresh of some kind, whether it's just adding the exploration stuff to make it more lived in, or starting over and trying to stick more to the core of the game, or whatever. Or even just going back to being more creative, but doing something like this where you're not just out in blank space building a random ship. You're actually kind of like, what can we do, or what would you need to do if you were in survival kind of thing. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. If you like this video, please leave a like. If you're new to the channel, I actually really apologize, because this is a bad representation of... Well, no, it's actually not a bad representation of what I usually do. I do talk a lot and don't get a lot done. But if you're new and you like what you're seeing, consider subscribing and clicking the little bell icon so you know when when I'm putting out more videos. If any of you are considering supporting the channel through Patreon, I encourage you to check out the Patreon page, because I recently overhauled a ton of the stuff. I did a whole bunch of changes to the tiers, the goals. I even included, because some people had mentioned multiplayer and collaborating and things like that, I even included a goal to where if we can get to like $100 a month on Patreon, I'm actually thinking of taking some of that funding and turning it back over and investing it in starting up a like public Space Engineer server that I'd run, where obviously it would be limited to a certain number of people. I think it'd be around 30 to 50, I think, but at least right off the bat. So it would be a way for patrons to be able to jump on and play on the same servers, so you guys could help me with builds. I can showcase your guys' builds, that kind of stuff. So if that's something you're interested in, that's something I recently added to the Patreon page. But with all that said, I think that's going to do it for this episode for today. So with that, that's going to be the end of this episode. I think I've said that like 4 times now, so I think I've hit my quota. So yeah, that's going to do it. So I'll see you guys next time. Please be sure to leave your feedback so that I know where you guys want to see us go from here. So that's, yeah. That's all I think I can say. I think I'm starting to repeat myself now. So I'm just going to end the episode. Peace.